Welcome back to the Gentleman's Gazette. Today we'll be embarking on a journey to the golden age of style together. But first, make sure you're comfortable. Take a moment to calm your mind and take a deep, relaxing breath. Think of warm woolens, crisp cottons, cozy linens, and let's begin. To dress well today, it is invaluable to experience the ensembles and clothing from the heyday of men's dress. Classic men's attire, as we know it today, has roots in the clothes men wore in the 1930s. It was a style era that retained much of the formality of former eras, yet was embracing modern concepts of dress. The 1930s are considered to be the golden age of men's style, changing times and the influence of the Ivy League. Despite the emergence of many modern amenities and ideas after the turn of the century, a number of factors affecting dress had yet to change. Men of the upper class still had staff in their homes, such as a butler or valet to attend to their wardrobe. The lack of central heating reinforced the need for dressing gowns and Albert slippers at home. Outside one's castle, there were still certain dress codes. Men wore suits when they got the newspaper, Shetland tweed knickerbockers when they went for a picnic or golf, and a car coat as they drove. In the evening, the tuxedo was the informal companion for dinners, trumped by the white tie tailcoat ensemble for balls and the opera. At the beginning of the era, students at Ivy League schools set the new fashions of the season, and so haberdashers and illustrators focused particularly on these young men. By 1935, Princeton was a fashion leader in the field, and haberdashers from across the nation would make a pilgrimage to the opening game and the commencement day football match just to observe the latest trends in men's fashion. It was particularly interesting to see the freshmen changing their outward appearance in a single school year from rough to refined. Culturally, fashion was a priority for this set. Later, campuses across the nation would follow suit, and young men became the leaders of male fashion in the United States. Under the Ivy League influence, major trends were emerging. Fur coats and polo coats were must-have items for every dapper chap, especially in the colder states. Narrower 20s fashions gave way to the Drape Cut, which had arrived from England. Slowly but surely, fullness over the blades and chest was accepted by prominent men, including silver screen stars such as Clark Gable, David Niven, and Fred Astaire. However, not only the young men would dress the part. Older men adapted while still incorporating classic elements. Wearing a hat was still obligatory, and lined or unlined gloves were a permanent companion. At times, even walking canes and top hats refined the outfits of many men, especially compared to today. The degree of elegance and taste in the 1930s was resplendent. The rise of the fashion illustration. In the U.S., men's fashion illustrations began appearing in the 1920s in the magazine Menswear, a publication by Fairchild. Then, in 1931, Apparel Arts was issued for the first time. As a trade publication, it was created to educate the haberdasher and introduce new fashion, forms of advertising, and industry trends. The founders quickly realized that they could be even more successful by issuing a clothing magazine for the male consumer. And as a result, they launched Esquire in 1933. To lend the new publication some credibility, writers such as Ernest Hemingway and Alexander Woollcott were commissioned to write articles, and it quickly turned into a massive success. The pair of publications became the most influential organ in the menswear industry. During its first 2 years, Apparel Arts fashion illustrations were similar to the drawing styles from the 1920s, but in 1933, Lawrence Fellows joined Apparel Arts. He is considered by many to be one of the best fashion illustrators of his generation. Under Fellows' influence, stylish fashion illustrations emerged that were realistic, full of detail, and always depicted in a particular social setting or environment. Like modern fashion photography, illustrations were used to display styles in the most desirable way, often exaggerating certain elements to create the idealized representation of the era's aesthetic. In the 30s, note the enhanced shoulders, elongated legs, and V-shaped torsos. Men's fashion and illustrations reached their heyday between 1933 and 1939, bounded by the launch of Esquire and the beginning of World War II, respectively. Prior to 1933, fashion magazines were scarce, and there were few mediums in which clothing was depicted on a public scale. Post-war, illustrations in fashion remained subdued as the life slowly returned to normal. Like many world-changing events, the war decreased the emphasis on formality, elegance, and style as other priorities took over. Hence, the period between 1933 to 39 provided the perfect cultural socioeconomic scenario in which fashion could thrive. Decades later, fashion illustrations are regulated to the shelves of library archives and collectors. However, for fellow classic fashion enthusiasts, we aim to breathe new life into this underappreciated art form. In this book, the fashion illustrations from the 7-year period capture the colors, patterns, and combinations of this remarkable era as a source of inspiration for your modern wardrobe. For the modern man, this means that a flattering suit cut can be employed in many different social settings and outfits. If the goal is to maximize your existing wardrobe, combining various accessories will help you to achieve a different look. We hope you will enjoy these illustrations as much as we do. Putting on a beautifully designed suit elevates my spirit, extols my sense of self, and helps define me as a man to whom details matter. Gay Talese. The lounge suit. Today, everybody knows what a suit is, but back in the 30s, the lounge suit was still something of a novelty. In the mid-19th century, the frock coat was the garment of choice for the gentleman, later to be supplanted by the morning coat. Before the turn of the century, the suit as we know it today entered the field. At the time, it was considered the least formal garment and deemed only appropriate for lounging, hence the name lounge suit. Many sources claim that the lounge suit did not become popular until the beginning of the 20th century. However, a remarkable little survey at the close of the 19th century observed the rising prominence of the garment. A writer for the Tailor and Cutter was stationed at London's Charing Cross, where he observed the men on the street and their dress. After a few hours, he had counted 530 gentlemen in lounge suits, 320 in morning coats, and just 150 gentlemen in frock coats. Clearly, the lounge suit had become mainstream. England at the time was the leader in men's fashion, and the British trends were adopted almost religiously in the United States. Here we see 2 American gentlemen in lounge suits. On the left, we can see a classic navy blue single-breasted lounge suit with jetted pockets, worn with a blue shirt, a solid red tie, a bowler hat, black shoes, and chamois gloves. This gentleman wears one of the most classic lounge suit combinations. He would certainly be impeccably dressed today. On the right, we see the same cut, but the fabric and accessories make it look very different at first glance. The yellow-brown Glen plaid has angled flat pockets, and in combination with brown shoes, a knit vest, a striped tie, and a tweed hat, it looks like a country outfit. These 2 examples prove that the same cut of a suit can be highly versatile, depending on the fabrics and finishing. White Summer Suit, 1932. This spring illustration from 1932 was the perfect example of a summery suit at the time. Not only were they worn in warmer regions such as Florida or California, but between June and September, white or off-white suits had become de rigueur for elegant gentlemen and attendees of Eastern University campuses alike. Nowadays, wearing a white, cream, or mother-of-pearl suit will certainly make you stand out from the crowd. At the same time, men who wear a white suit will appear to be more debonair and act more gentlemanly. It seems hard to believe that a simple change of color can have such an impact on the behavior of a man. But if you have ever worn one, you know it's true. A man strives to live up to the expectations he sets with his attire. To wear this kind of suit well, you must not only be more careful with the fabric to avoid stains, but you also have to pay attention to a few details in the purchase process. First, the most desirable fabric choice is a tropical worsted for its lightweight and plain weave. Second, if possible, avoid buying pants with pockets. as the pocket lining will always be visible through and create a visible distraction. Tailors seem to have an odd preference for white pocket linings, although nude would show far less. If you can buy a bespoke garment, a skin tone lining would be a worthwhile upgrade. Third, since the garment is on the more casual side, opt for a single-breasted jacket and patch pockets for a more relaxed look. Boater hats were popular in the 30s, but while they make a statement, it may look a bit too vintage for your taste. For a classic yet modern alternative, choose a Panama hat instead. Add some visual interest with a band in a color other than black, such as light blue, dark green, red, or even a stripe. To combine your suit, pair it with a light blue or other shade of pastel colors to maintain a soft summer color palette. Bright or dark colors will contrast too starkly. Regarding accessories, light florid ties or bow ties will work splendidly, as will knit ties. Big prints and summery hues, such as madras, work just as well as stripes. If you live in a warmer climate, you should have at least one white or off-white suit, because it will be one of the most versatile suits in your wardrobe, even in colder climates. This kind of suit offers relief from the browns, charcoals, and navies that pervade the long cold months, and only better helps to embrace the turning of the seasons. Regardless of where you live, a white or off-white suit will make you shine, promised. Triple Windowpane suit in olive green, 1933. This illustration is from spring 1933, and it depicts a gentleman with a mustache in a clean-cut, single-breasted triple windowpane suit. This jacket features peaked lapels, implying a higher degree of formality, which is underscored by the 4 cuff buttons and an elegant Homburg hat. Back then, consistency in dress was much more important. Formal garments were combined with formal accessories, and informal country suits with informal ones. Today, you can combine whatever you like. However, knowing what was historically correct will often make you look more refined. The cut of the suit is slimmer than most suits from the 30s. The shoulders are slim and natural. There is no drape in the chest, and the trousers show only a bit of fullness over the thighs and taper to the cuffs. Clearly, this suit was still influenced a bit of 1920s fashion, which was very lean and tapered. Olive green is a rather unusual suit color nowadays, although it is extremely versatile. Once you own the basics such as navy, charcoal, and brown suits, green is an excellent next choice. Equally as rare as the green suit is the triple windowpane suit. Sometimes you may see a subtle windowpane suit in worsted cloth or a slightly bolder windowpane in flannel. This kind of triple windowpane is extremely unique and hence something that is either produced in very small lengths or woven upon request. In case you prefer another unusual color or pattern, consider a charcoal triple windowpane or a gray flannel background. Brown double-breasted chalk stripe suit, 1933. Apart from the fact that this jacket is double-breasted, the cut is very different from the previous suit and is a better example of a typical 1930s shape. The heavily padded shoulders are a hallmark of the time, and they deliberately emphasize the masculine proportions by narrowing the waist. The lapels are cut widely with a low gorge. The chest is full of drape. The horizontal button stance is generous, and the trousers have a full cut from the waistband down to the ankle. Combined with a gray snap brim hat, a collar pin, a tartan tie, and bright yellow gloves, the outfit is elegant, but a bit less formal. The pocket square is loosely tucked into the angled breast pocket, which creates a rakish look in combination with the tilted hat. Instead of the matching suede brown shoes, cognac-colored shoes would have been a good choice. Instead of the pale yellow shirt, a pale blue, gray, or green would have worked just as well. Pastel-colored shirts were quite popular during this decade, and although mostly forgotten nowadays, they are an excellent way to add color to an outfit without looking like a peacock. I'm certain you already have a few blue and white shirts in your closet. So consider pale yellow or salmon for your next purchase. These colors combine beautifully with brown suits or jackets. The neckwear of the 30s was, for the most part, rather bold. Combining such strong patterns with other colors and striped suits requires some skill and confidence because it is easy to overload. Ties were much shorter because trousers were worn at the natural waist or slightly below it. Ties should never extend below the waistband. Gray sharkskin suit, 1932. This blue-gray sharkskin suit is typical for the 1930s with full-cut trousers, wide shoulders, and some notable drape. Despite the age of the garment, its enduring qualities mean that you can buy a worsted suit like this today without looking dated. It is the perfect example of how a classic wardrobe staple can be an ageless, worthy investment. This suit reveals its versatility further with the interesting ways it can be combined to suit different purposes. When you wear this three-piece suit with a white shirt, a burgundy polka dot, or a grenadine tie, and a white linen pocket square, it is entirely suitable for very formal offices. When you pair it with a checked shirt in blue, green, or brown, as well as a bow tie, the look changes dramatically. It looks younger, fresher, and different enough to wear to a cocktail party or other casual events. A solid gray suit that is neither too dark nor too light can be dressed up and down as the occasion of your whim dictates. For a more daring look, pair it with a green ombre hat if you want to stand out from the crowd. Otherwise, suspenders, matching socks, and black Oxfords or derbies work well. Alternatively, burgundy would have also been an excellent shoe choice for this ensemble. Note that the shirt collar used to be detachable, which is not the case anymore, but you can choose a shirt with a contrast white collar if the look appeals to you. If you like the idea of a large checked shirt, a matching collar pairs better with the casual pattern and allows for greater versatility with the rest of your wardrobe. Remember, the larger the check, the less formal the shirt. Two-tone striped city suit with bowler hat, 1933. This scene shows a gentleman strolling in the city. In the 30s, this meant one's clothing needed to display a higher degree of formality. In terms of detail, a gentleman would choose a suit with peaked lapels, jutted pockets, black cap-toe vulture shoes, a black bowler hat, off-white day-wear gloves, and a tightly rolled city umbrella. Once again, the cut of this suit is very in line with the 1930s fashion. Although formal, the standout element of this outfit is the striped cloth. Most striped suits today are either pinstripe or chalk stripe, with a narrower space between the stripes. Only rarely will you find bolder stripes and widely spaced stripes in two different colors are even rarer. Certainly, it can make for an elegant city suit. So if you have already covered the basics, this could be a great addition to your bespoke wardrobe. The striped shirt only works here because the shirt stripes are spaced more narrowly. Nevertheless, one of the micro-check shirts to the left would have been a better choice. Note, the tie knots were much slimmer due to thinner interlinings used during the era. For some reason, they look more elegant than their chubby double Windsor counterparts. Certain elegant men, such as Prince Charles, swear by them. The printed pocket squares and paisley patterns are always a good companion, especially if it reflects another color in the outfit without matching it. Here, it is the blue color in the tie and suit stripes. Faint chalk stripe flannel suit, 1933. Back in the 1930s, fabric manufacturing was not as advanced, and the finishing was not as good as it is today. Fabrics were also much heavier, though this had its advantages. This faint chalk stripe flannel suit was advertised as summer weight, but today even winter cloth would be lighter. Even off-white flannel is simply not an ideal summer fabric because it feels so warm. However, during spring, fall, and winter, flannel is a fantastic fabric that feels soft, drapes well, and looks sophisticated. The boater is a bit daring. Otherwise, the combination of a blue and white Winchester shirt a collar safety pin, a printed tie, a white linen waistcoat, and a white pocket square is timeless and could be worn today. Alternatively, a buff or light blue vest would also be well suited for summer ensembles. Black Oxford shoes provide the whole ensemble with a more formal character, although a last with a rounded toe would be more classic than the pointed ones shown in the illustration. Always bear in mind that extreme lasts are much more prone to go out of fashion in a few years and are also a bit more uncomfortable to wear. At the same time, if they suit your style, they could become your style hallmark. Mid-gray Windowpane suit with patch pockets. Gray suits come in such manifold varieties that it is difficult to recommend a specific one. As a rule of thumb, the darker the gray, the more formal the suit. Here we have a mid-gray suit that is ideally suited for casual events outside the office. The informal character of the suit is emphasized by the faint windowpane, the notched lapels, and the flapped patch pockets. Also, informal suits or tweeds are traditionally worn with sporty button cuffs, rather than with double cuffs and cufflinks. In any case, the cuff should be tight around the wrist, as you can clearly observe in this illustration. Most men today would not wear a suit for a casual event, though this picture is a perfect example of how a suit can be worn in a relaxed environment. The key to this outfit is the fit of the suit. Just look at the tight armholes and the right accessories. The green felt hat looks very similar to the soft, slightly wrinkled hats that are in vogue again, and it matches the formality of the outfit. The white sweater vest contrasts well with the suit as well as with the dark tie and the pastel red shirt. The brown leather shoes match the sporty walking cane, watch strap, and pipe. Canes have lost appeal over time, except for the dandyish few. Note the gentleman in the background. He pulls off a combination of an orange tie, a pale yellow shirt, and a green jacket with the vest. Green and orange will always look balanced, and hence they are a great color pair for your casual wardrobe. Chalk stripe flannel suit, 1933. Up until the late 20s, chalk stripe flannel used to be only popular with elegant gentlemen who had distinguished taste. At the time, men's models did not exist, but the trendsetter and arbiter elegantarium was undoubtedly Edward, Duke of Windsor. Not only was he the most photographed person in the world, but whatever he wore became popular on a large scale shortly after that. So when the young Edward wore a chalk stripe suit in the United States for the first time, it did not take very long before the very same suit in flannel and worsteds surged in popularity. The man on the right is wearing one of these mid-gray chalk stripe suits in a 6x2 double-breasted style with wide lapels. Note how it is only buttoned in the middle to give a nonchalant flair. The pockets are jetted and aligned with the bottom row of buttons to look proportional. These little details are often overlooked in modern garments, and when proportions are off, people can tell something is wrong, even though they can't put their finger on it. The same goes if proportions are correct. People will think you are well dressed, but they cannot say exactly why. The club collar shirt is accessorized with a bold striped tie, a carnation boutonniere in dark red, and a printed silk pocket square. The outfit is topped off by a lightweight mid-gray Homburg hat and black dress shoes. Today, the Homburg hat is not worn very often anymore, which is a pity because it is an elegant piece of headwear. Brown diamond overlay suit, 1933. For the uninitiated, classic menswear might be viewed simply as a construct of rules that exist to help men avoid making fashion faux pas in public. However, while the rules do serve this purpose, they are also not meant to stifle the development of one style. For example, in the 1920s, most men would have considered florid ties only appropriate for summer wear and brown suits exclusively for the winter season. By the 1930s, Ivy League students, who were the trendsetters of their age, were still quick to recognize the rules. But since there was no underlying reason to obey them, they started wearing florid ties and brown suits year-round. The key is to learn the rules first, and then to break them where it makes sense to do so. The tuxedo is a prime example. It will never go with flip-flops, but then again, few things do. The brown suit in this illustration is very unusual because it has a faint diamond overlay, which is a rare in menswear. Chalk stripes, or a chalk windowpane, are well known, as are little squares, but diamond shapes are extremely difficult to find. This suit plays with the rules in several ways. The edges skip the subtle pick stitching and show a machine stitch, which lends the suit a less formal character. Two sleeve buttons are also a sign of a less formal sports coat. At the same time, the matching vest also adds a bit of formality to the suit. The blue striped shirt goes well with brown, and the yellow and white necktie is the bright centerpiece of this ensemble. The suggested alternatives are all distinctly vintage. Looking and wearing them today would make you look outdated. Since this chap wears brown shoes, he smartly chose a contrasting sock color, since a matching sock would not render any contrast. He opted for a bluish-gray pair of socks, which is anything but bright, yet it provides enough contrast to make the combination interesting to observe. Brown windowpane three-piece suit, 1933. Today, brown suits are underrated and often neglected in favor of navy, charcoal, and gray, even though it is a wonderful suit color that pairs well with many things. Here we see a three-piece version with a slightly darker windowpane, with a ticket pocket, and a full cut. Chances are you will have a hard time finding this pattern, but alternatively, a solid brown sharkskin or needlehead pattern works just as well. Both weaves create a solid look from a distance by incorporating two tones of brown. The subtle pattern creates a slightly changing effect depending on the angle. When wearing a vest or waistcoat, it is always recommended to wear suspenders instead of a belt for several reasons. A belt will add unnecessary bulk around the waist, while suspenders will lie smoothly beneath your vest and have the added benefit of allowing you to wear a slightly larger trouser for comfort. When combining trousers, socks, and shoes together, follow a simple system. First, decide on a color and pattern for your trousers or suit. Second, you choose a matching pair of shoes. For a mid-brown suit, chocolate brown, mid-brown, or something lighter like cognac shoes will work. Third, choose a pair of socks that matches the trousers and contrasts with the shoes, or choose something that contrasts with both. Avoid matching it to the color of the shoes because it will blend in. Always wear over-the-calf socks that are long enough. Nobody wants to see your hairy legs. Thank you so much for listening to the reading of a portion of our ebook today. Now, if you'd like to hear more and read more of the ebook, check out the link below.